My name is Cherniske. Many things. I'm a wife, I'm a student, I'm a teacher, I'm a sister, a dog mom, dancer, coach, so many different things. I feel like nobody's just one thing.
I agree.
My greatest passion. That's another one too where I feel like it's not, I don't just have one, you know what I mean? I'm really passionate about art, and I think I've always felt a calling to help people. So I'd say that that's a passion as well, because when I'm not doing things that's like are helping guide people or doing something for more than just me, whether it's volunteering or mentoring, when I don't have that going on the regular in my life, it feels like something's missing. So I remember when I used to be a school teacher, and I worked in the public school system for a while, and I didn't realize, but you know, a big part of that is you're not just teaching, you're really helping kids. And there are kids that have more needs than others, not just needs like to be able to learn, but they come from really rough situations. Just being able to be a support for them and guide them and give them a safe, happy place was really important to me. And I realized that when I left teaching and was making the career switch to be an artist and be a performer and be a dancer, that for the first year I was like, I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I'm really happy dancing because this is something that I'm passionate about. I love it. But I felt like something was missing, and I didn't know what it was. And I was like, what the heck is missing? Like, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this switch. What's going on? And then when Lisette and Cherniske asked me to be a leader for creating ops, when I started doing that and mentoring again, that's when I realized like, oh, this is what was missing. You're never gonna know if you don't take that leap. And I think that for me, I would so much rather have take the leap and try my hardest than to have not and then regret and wonder. Because I left teaching in 2011, and there was a couple years where I was trying to figure out like, okay, I want to leave my tenured job, you know, with my benefits and everything, and I want to pursue this career where I love it, but I'm not really quite sure what's going to happen. And I kept trying to figure out like, well, if I do this and I do this and I do this, then I'll make this and I can pay this bill, you know, trying to figure it out. But I wasn't just having faith. And I read this book. It's called If You Want to Walk on Water, You Gotta Get Out of the Boat. And it talks about how like if you want to walk on water, you have to like, you're never gonna get this opportunity if you don't get out of the boat. And one of the examples that they gave was about just trying to achieve your destiny. There are these awesome things like laid out for you, but if you don't take that leap of faith, you're not gonna get them. You know what I mean? Like they're there for you, but you have to go for it. And I was just like, I remember I started sobbing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm missing my bestie. And like, I called my friend Sarah, and I was like, Sarah, I was like, I don't know. And it kind of was like, all right, get it together. Like, get it together. You want to do this. Like, what's holding you back? There's a lot of things it could be like, you know, sorry guys, I'm cold. It could be fear of finances. You know, for me, like, I'm such a like, I have spreadsheets and I have my planner and I write everything out. And if I don't have an answer, sometimes I'm like, what is it? You know, and with this, I didn't have an answer because I didn't really know what it was going to be. You know, and that was hard for me because I'm someone who likes to figure things out. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I couldn't figure it out was like tripping me up. There was a lot of unknowns that you just kind of have to figure out as you go.
Yeah, for sure.
And you figure it out. It may be hard, but being a teacher comes with a lot of responsibility. It does, like, because you are influencing, whether you're in the school system or if you're at a dance studio or a workshop teacher or a tutor, whatever it is, like, you are trying to shape the minds and positively influence not just always children. Sometimes it's like, you know, college age. Sometimes it's adults. Like I teach women who are older than me. It's important to know your strengths, you know, and then also to know where you're not as strong so that you can also improve in those areas. I think it's, for me, it's very, very important to get to know your students because nobody is the same. When I was in the education program at Sacred Heart, I had some really phenomenal teachers. Dr. Murray, he told us that if you're going to give a kid a book that isn't at their reading level, you may as well give them a brick because it's going to serve them just as well. If you don't give them something that they need or that matches what they need, it's not going to do anything for them, you know? So for me, I think that what I realized is that you have to get to know your kids so you know how to help them, you know? So I think no matter who you are as a teacher, you know, whether you teach little kids or older kids, like, and there's all different ways to do that. Like for dance, I'll sit with the kids for like a couple minutes at the beginning of class when I take attendance and ask them how their week was. What's something exciting that happened? What are you looking forward to? So then I can check in with them as well and see what's going on in their lives, and you start to get to know their personalities, and you can tell when they're having an off day. You have to get to know your kids so you know how to help them. That was something else that in education they told us, that fairness in education is not giving everyone the same thing. That is not what the definition of fairness is in education. Fairness is giving each kid what they need, because not everyone needs the same thing. So you might be giving them something they don't need and not giving them something that they need if you just give everyone the same thing. As a teacher, it's a big job. It's not just having a room of 15 kids and doing the same thing for everyone. Like maybe some kids need to be checked in on, or maybe they need to be standing closer to you, or maybe they just need a little reinforcement. Maybe they love being a leader, so you give them that opportunity in class. But it makes it more difficult because it's a lot to do, and like you have them only for an hour, you know, but it's also going to make you a more effective teacher and have a bigger impact, I believe. Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's the same whether you're teaching dance or teaching in the school system. Well, first, before I get into that, I have to give a shout out to Lizzie, because she gave me a book, and I used to be apprehensive about putting out some of my work because you're worried about, is this the best work that you can be putting out? You just start to second guess yourself, right? And I was second guessing myself as far as putting my own work out there in the New York dance scene. And she gave me this book, and it basically was like a kick in the butt. It talks about how like these creative ideas, when they come to you, like they came to you for a reason, and you need to let them out there. And maybe someone else is going to come up with an idea similar, because how many times does that happen? It kind of talks in the book how you're like, I had that idea, but I didn't do anything about it, and now someone else has done it. I had to stop holding back, and like when these creative ideas start coming, I need to run with them, right? So thank you, Lizzie, for that book. After I read that book, I decided, all right, I'm gonna do a video to Fresh Eyes. And I think that was one of my first choreography videos that I let out there, was Fresh Eyes. As I was working on it, so many things started to get in the way. All of a sudden, like it was gonna rain that day. And like all these random things, I had a really crazy week leading up to it, and I didn't have as much time to prep, and I was like, maybe I should put it off. And then I'm like, no, big magic, I gotta do this, you know? And then I kept pushing forward, and even though these things got in the way, and like it did rain, and we were outside, it all worked out, and I was really, really pleased with like the outcome. And Nathan filmed it and edited it, which was, you know, he was amazing as well. And after doing that, and like how much fun I had during the process, like honestly, the whole process is really enjoyable. It's really a lot of fun seeing how things do click, even when other things get in the way, things click. And then the fun I had even with the other dancers, you know, it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it so much that I was like, all right, I need to do this more. Like, what have I been doing? Why am I like hesitant about this, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I just started putting out more and more, and I've started to do where if I get an idea and I feel excited about it or passionate about it, I just start pushing forward. And honestly, reading Big Magic like really was like, all right, keep going, just keep going. Whenever I start to get inspired by it and can see in my head, you know, different ideas, it's not that you ever really see what it's totally going to be, because things change as you go. I just try to run with it. And my favorite part of the process, I honestly don't know, because I really do enjoy the whole process. My least favorite is trying to find studio space. As artists, like, your work is personal. You know, it's very personal, and I think that we all have a little bit of a fear of worrying what other people think. And I was worried about what other people would think, honestly. And then I just finally was like, all right, you know, I have to go for this. Like, I'm holding back. I have these ideas, and like, they're not doing any good to anybody by just staying in, and I'm not sharing them. So I need to start sharing my work, because why not? So I grew up doing gymnastics and dance, and I was always a very hard worker, right? And like with gymnastics, and I do what I'm told, right? So if you like do 50 burpees, I'm like, okay, you know, like, so like I'll do what I'm told. So like I was a bit of a goody-goody as a student. I didn't realize, like, I loved dance and I loved the feeling and the passion, but I didn't realize that for so much of my life, I was approaching dance from the same way I was approaching gymnastics, which in some ways isn't as effective as an artist, right? Because I was like, tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? Whereas as a dancer, you have to like feel and show who you are. And in gymnastics, it's more like there is a right and a wrong for everything, and you are judged on it. Like there is a right way to do a back handspring, and there is a wrong way. There's no in between. So I was very much like, well, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. But with dance, it's not so like black and white. And I honestly had no idea that I was approaching things like that, because I had no idea. And it was Rhapsody who said something to me. I was doing the Motivating Excellence program, which is just amazing and out of this world. And that was in 2012. And one day, Rap said something, and I had no idea. She's able to really watch people and see what they need, right? She's an excellent teacher. And also see what's holding them back, when they don't even know. Like, I had no idea. She's like, Maria, stop approaching dance like a gymnast. And I was like, I remember being like, what? And she said, you have this little checklist in your head, like, this is what I'm supposed to do, check. This is what I have to do, check. And she's like, if I told you to go get a purple shirt right now, you'd go get a purple shirt, because that's what I told you to do. She's like, but I don't want you to do that anymore. She's like, I know that you can follow directions. And I know if I give you the details, you're going to know the details and you're going to do them. She's like, I don't want that anymore. She's like, I want to see who you are. And I was like, what? And it completely rocked my brain, because I was just like, you're so right, but I had no idea that that's what I was doing, because I was just used to being like, okay, tell me what to do, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. Like, if this is what I need to do, I'm going to do it. And with dance, especially at that level, and like trying to make it a career, you can't just follow the steps. You have to also show who you are and be vulnerable, which is scary. But like after that, it was like the challenge for me was like, she was like, I want you to let go. And I'm like, how do you let go? And I'm trying to figure it out. And then it almost seemed like everyone had like a meeting or something, because all these other people I was dancing with outside of Motivating Excellence were starting to say that to me. They're like, Maria, good job, but I need you to let go. And I'm like, oh. And I was just trying to figure it out. Like, I'm like, how do you let go? You know what I mean? But it's like, you have to just let yourself be vulnerable. And like here, like I do a lot of choreography for gymnastics routines. It is a hard thing for a lot of the girls to like let go and have fun and perform and not just go through the motions with the music. And that is a challenge. It took until 2012 when I was like 28, to like realize. Like as a kid, oh my gosh, like all I wanted to do was be moving. Like whether it's gymnastics or dance or like playing outside, climbing trees, like playing football. I just wanted to be moving. But dance, I remember, just made me very happy, and like gymnastics was always fun. And yeah, that makes you happy because it's fun, but there was something about dance that just made me very, very happy. I remember telling my mom, when I was stressed, if I was worried about something, when I went to dance class, it stopped. Anything that I was worried about, I stopped worrying about it there. When I took out a career as being a teacher in the school system, I was still dancing a lot. Like I still taught a couple nights a week, and I would still go into the city at least once a week to take class. And I knew that for me, like at that point when I knew that dance was my safe place, so to speak. I knew that working all day, and while I loved teaching, I loved working with the kids, but I also knew that it wasn't where I was going to be forever. Going and dancing at night kind of just like reset me and refreshed me. At that point, like because I had a full-time job, dance was also my escape. And then making dance a career, it's a little bit different also. And the book You Are a Badass, I remember her talking in that book about how there is like this shift where when all of a sudden your art form and like something that's your escape and your passion and your love, and then it ends up becoming also how you make money. And sometimes that pressure to make the money changes how you feel about this thing that was always your escape. Just like be careful of that, because then you lose that fire and that spark and that love that you had, because now there's this pressure. I think reading that book also like just kind of called attention to it for me. Dance is something that feels good like internally too, like it makes me happy. Lisette and Cherniske, I remember saying as well, in creating ops that there is room for everyone, because the industry is always changing and there's so many different paths within the industry. It's not just one, it's not like everyone's dancing for an artist. That's not the only way to be successful in the dance industry. There's so many different paths and ways that you can go, and they need all different people, you know? And I remember them saying that there's enough gold for everyone because everyone's gold is different. And I think everyone has something in their life. I hope, oh my gosh, I pray that everybody has something in their life that makes them that happy, whether, even if it's not their career, maybe it's dogs, you know what I mean? I also love dogs. You know, maybe it's painting. For some people, it's working the outdoors. For my husband, it's working the outdoors. Or piano, or music, or I hope that everyone has something that makes them that happy. And I'm just very grateful that I get to use that thing that makes me happy to also make a living. And where I grew up dancing, like, everyone was accepted, no matter your height, shape, size. In the gymnastics world, like, there are different body types. You know, there isn't just one body type that does gymnastics. It's the importance is to be strong, right? And like, I had coaches who were strict coaches, and they were Olympians and Olympic coaches, and never once at our gym did they get on top of us about weight, or what they were looking for was work ethic and strength, you know, which, you know, kind of went hand in hand. In the dance industry, where weight was such a big thing, where I was like, but this isn't keeping me from being a hard worker. This isn't making me less of a good dancer. You just don't want me because I don't look like what you want me to look like. I grew up in so many wonderful, nurturing, uplifting environments where I was never told that I had to change anything about myself. I was always praised for who I was, or, you know, made to feel beautiful, but I was very hard on myself, right? So even though no one else was, like, at gymnastics, my family was fantastic, my dance studio that I grew up at, like, everyone was so supportive and wonderful, but I was being hard on myself, even though no one else was. And then here I am, you know, pursuing my dream and in the dance industry, and all of a sudden, people were bringing that up to me and challenging me in that area that I was already being so hard on myself with, and it forced me to be stronger. So it ended up being a real blessing in disguise, even though at the time I was like, ugh. It forced me to look at it because it was keeping me from letting go. Mm-hmm. So all these times that people are telling me to just let go and let go and let go, I didn't realize that I was hanging on so hard to these things in my life that I think, even though I didn't like them, I was afraid to let go, if that makes sense. And being in the industry and being forced to face it all the time really ended up making me, brought me on a path to getting better. So it's funny that, like, even though I was in this situation and in this environment where body image and weight loss and all of this is a focus more than other areas that I had been in my life, being in that environment and being around it actually ended up making me get stronger, because I had to, right? I had to get stronger to survive, I guess, if that makes sense. So it really did force me to face those things that make me feel vulnerable and embrace them, take time to work on myself where I needed to work on myself so that I could be better and stronger and confident in who I am now. So even though it was a hard time, and there were times when I was definitely brought to tears and, you know, upset and second guessing myself and judging myself, I'm grateful for it because it helped me in the long run. Are you in the shot, baby? Is he in there?
Yeah, he is.
Bobo, say hi.
Bo,
you're making a cameo.
Hi.
Yes.
No.
I was like always second guessing myself and judging myself and like not being kind to myself. And I kind of almost got sick of that. I think I just had enough.
Yeah.
Of like my brain like not letting me be happy because of this thing that like sometimes you can't do anything about it. I wish I had the aha earlier. It didn't take me till I was 31, but I remember just being like, what the heck have I been doing? Like, I'm stressing out, unhappy, and like, for what? For what? For what?
It takes it getting so bad and like so consuming that you're like, I don't think that I can actually live like this anymore because this is too much.
Yeah.
And then it stinks that for a lot of us it takes
a long time
to get to that point and to have that switch aha moment. But I mean, some
so
people live their whole lives without having
Exactly. And that's the thing, like, it's like, it was something so simple. You know, it was something so simple. Like the doctor saying, oh, healthy. And I'm like, yeah, what the heck, you know? It took a while for me to realize, or for me to be okay with, well, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer, and if it's not right for you, that's okay. You know, it's gonna be right for someone else. This is the one you were given, you can't do anything about it, you know, so you gotta love it and appreciate it, because if you don't love it and appreciate it, it's gonna like shut down on you. I think, I think I'm able to see good in other people, you know, and I think that even like with my students, I'm able to see potential and the good in them and help bring that out. Sometimes you have some students that are like pains in the neck, right? Yeah. But you still love them because you have to understand where they're coming from and like find the good in them and pull it out and like look past the behavior issues or whatever it is and like be able to see the best in them so that you can bring out the best in them, you know, and help bring it out, because I think that's really important. Otherwise, sometimes they get written off and they're used to getting written off and they need someone to see the good in them and bring it out. So I think I'm good at that.
Have you been able to do that for yourself also?
That's the harder one. I'm definitely getting better at that, and that's something, you know, that's life. That's figuring it out as you go. I think it took me a while to figure that out. I mean, I'm 36, so I'm working on it. Yeah, it's easier to help someone else than to help yourself sometimes. Yeah. But I'm getting better. Yeah. When I was a kid, I remember there was this boy in my class in 4th grade. He had special needs. I don't know what his special needs were, but I remember he had trouble speaking, and little kids can be very mean. I remember kids just teasing him and being just like relentless. And I just kind of one day was like, just little 4th grade Maria like flipped out, and I was just like, I told them to stop and to leave him alone, and that it wasn't fair, and that, you know, you shouldn't talk to him this way. And then, you know how little kids are sometimes, like now instead of just teasing him, now they start teasing me. Because I stood up for him, so now it's like, oh, Maria likes him, or you guys are getting married, you know what I mean, just stupid stuff like that. I never really told on them, I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell, you know, the teachers. I remember after 4th and 5th grade, you go to the middle school in my town, and when I got to 6th grade, I just remember thinking going to middle school, like, I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to be teased. I don't want anyone to make fun of me. I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And then when I got to 6th grade, I was on the bus and this kid was starting to tease me. But he was in front of me on the bus, and it was one of those, like, he was saying it to his friend but wasn't saying it to me. And I just was like, I remember I reached over, I like tapped him on the shoulder, and I was like, shut up! Like, I was just like, I got so mad. And I was like, you better stop it. And at that point I was like, I'm gonna tell Miss Barrett, who was the principal, like I just was like, enough. Like I flipped out, you know? And after like 2 years of being teased and not saying anything back, and the fact that he apologized. And there was another girl who used to tease me relentlessly who actually ended up apologizing as well. Wow. That doesn't happen for everyone. I think I'm lucky that people did stop and apologize, realize that they were wrong, or were scared that I'd get in trouble, I don't know. I'd say that was a defining moment, because I remember just kind of keeping it in and not saying anything, and then just finally realizing I have to say something, because, or it's going to continue. It goes back to that, like, I had enough. Yeah. I was like, right, it had gotten so bad. Enough. Like, I didn't do anything, like, I stood up for someone who needed sticking up for, you know? But when it came to yourself, it took longer. It took longer. It took longer, absolutely. Isn't that always the way? Yeah. You always give other people more grace than you give yourself. Always. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love taking class. I love being a student. Like, I really do love taking class, and I feel like that, like, fills me up. I also really love witnessing other people being in their element, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't have to just be dance. Like, I just love people, like, seeing people reach their potential and doing what they love to do. So whether it's even, like, being at a concert, like, in May, I went to see the Temptations, like the actual Temptation. Well, there's only one of the originals left, Otis, but like they were performing in New Haven, and I went with my parents, and like I loved it. Like it was so much fun, like to see these guys just having a good time and like grooving, and like it really got me excited, and they were just fantastic performers. So I love seeing other people just do their thing, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a performer, it could be anything. Growing up, I loved the movie Little Giants. But basically that movie is like a bunch of like little ragtag little kids who are not great at football, but like they love it, right? And they make this team of all these kids that didn't make the good team, you know, the Cowboys. They kept persevering and they made it and they won and they were so happy. And I know it's like a movie, but I was like, oh, that inspires me because persevering and pushing through is hard. It would have been easy for those kids to be like, okay, I'm gonna make the team, mama. So I love seeing that, people rise. I'd say everything happens when it's supposed to happen. Like for instance, like when I ended up deciding to leave my job as a school teacher and pursue dance, there were a few years where I was trying to figure out how to make that happen. I'm like, man, I can't figure this out. Like, I can't figure this out. And it wasn't happening, and I didn't understand why. And then when it did happen, the timing was just so right. It was just so right. I was supposed to wait. It wasn't supposed to happen when I thought it was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen now. And there's been a few different times in my life where that was made very much aware, like very much like in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Where at the time, you're like, why isn't this happening? I don't know. And that was a hard one for me to learn. That was a hard one for me to learn, but sometimes you gotta just wait. Yeah, and things will happen when they're meant to happen. That doesn't mean wait around and like not do anything. That's different. You gotta put yourself out there, put the work in. You can't just sit around in your house and be like, oh yeah, well, someone's gonna come get me, you know, right? You have to put the work in, but if you're putting in the work, you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, things will happen when they're supposed to happen. And yeah.